there's one criticism I find to have no worth when discussing a piece of media's flaws, it's calling it boring. Because it doesn't tell me anything outside of your personal opinion. And that's fine if that's the context of the conversation. There's plenty of shows, movies, games, and other media that I find boring for various reasons. However, it is not indicative of quality. Allow me to explain why. If a villain is simply evil for the sake of it, he has no greater motivations outside of world domination, and is as two-dimensional as it can be, I can see how someone might find that boring because there's not a lot of meat to really grab onto. But if said villain is consistently evil, with little if any moments of coming up with nonsensical plans, completely relying on contrivance, and is intelligent throughout, using their resources in ways that make sense, then you can't really call it bad if it all fits logically. On the flip side, you can have a villain who has, in concept at least, multiple layers and a motivation beyond surface-level dominance of the world. Perhaps he's being driven by some form of justice, something that you could consider more substantial. But they're inconsistent with their plans, many of their actions contradict their motivations, and they're consistently retarded. In that case, even if you find them more interesting than the former example, they are not a good character, as nothing at all makes any kind of logical sense. I understand there are people who know that boring is highly subjective, and even understand that they can find something boring and consider it good, and vice versa. This video is directed at the people who believe it's a legit criticism of something. If a piece of media fits their personal criteria of boring, then it's overall bad. This is not the case, as how a story functions and how you feel are a separate matter. Your feelings do not dictate the logical consistency of a story. Though the entire debate if quality in art can be quantified and measured is an entirely different discussion altogether, but it is somewhat connected to that, and, well, you all know that I firmly believe that at the very least in storytelling, you can very much quantify and measure quality. To conclude things in this little thought bite, if you find something boring because you personally weren't engaged, that's 100% fine. Just don't use that as a criticism of quality, as that has nothing to do with the internal consistency of something. Hopefully I've at least given you something to think over. I'll see you all in the next video.